Yes, yes, I was muted. Thank you so much for pointing out that I was muted. Man, I was getting all excited. All right. So, what I was doing, thank you very much, Kevin. What I was wanting to do is welcome you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Self Image Rising. This is a phenomenal course based on the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who was a world-class um, um, plastic surgeon that you'll hear about later. And we also have for you completely the electronic version is free for you in the course if you already have the course. If not, you can get this book, this version, print version, or the Kindle version on Amazon. Now, if you're not going to get the electronic version in the course, I recommend that you get the print version because there's space for the exercises and for some of the different things that we talk about, some of the exercises that we work in. I mean, some of these things are some of the questions that we ask. It gets really detailed. And I personally find that every time I go through this content, I grow a little bit more. And so, no matter how many times I have gone through this content, I find that I'm always at some place in my life where just to take my self image a little bit higher helps me break through of something. And some of you may have seen some discussion about that with the photo shoot and stuff on my Facebook page. But I always find it interesting, when you've already learned something here, it causes you to move up. And so when you come at it again, now you see it from a different perspective, and next year from a different perspective, and next year from a different perspective. So it's just a phenomenal class. This is a phenomenal book. But as you can see from the difference between his text and mine, his text is a little bit more difficult to get through. So if you are not a voracious reader, then I encourage you to get the workbook. It has everything that you're going to need, and to watch the videos. And then if you are a love to read, if you are someone who loves to read, or if you'd like to get better in reading, pretty soon we're going to come out with a class on improving your reading speed, your comprehension while you improve your reading speed. I'm so excited about that. Okay. All right. This is going to be a great program. Now, look, if you're new to me and my body of work, first of all, I want to say thank you for trusting me and jumping into the program. Now, several of you have already gone out there and purchased the program. You are going to get weekly lessons based on this program with this one and the fourth weekend in March, I think, broadcast live. Okay. The rest of them will be private classes, as far as we'll either do Zooms, or we will do dial-ins, or we will do or we'll do a drip. So although my son told me now the drip doesn't mean what I thought it means. He says now it means you're stylish. So if you're really stylish, you got the ultra drip. I said, no, I'm doing marketing. Drip is when I send stuff on a schedule. So neither one of us is wrong on that. All right. So I'm going to drop some links into the chat for you. We'll drop some links into the chat for you. So you'll get the link to the class. You will get the link to the books. Okay. I want to tell you right now, my promise to you is you're going to get more value and transformation out of this class than you pay for in cash value, especially if you go in there and purchase it before I finish teaching, because it was supposed to be super early bird until today, and I forgot to take it off of super early bird, which was $99. And I forgot to switch it to in-class pricing, which those of you who have been with me for a while, in-class pricing is $199, and once the class completes, it goes up to full price of $497. So you get the blessing, because I totally forgot to go in there and change that. But I'm trying to save money up to help for these kids for the Global Youth Initiative, and now that I live in Texas, we're driving to the Metroplex for most of our stuff. Well, that takes money. So go ahead and buy your course. But if you wait, you're gonna regret it. And I don't do like some people anymore. I used to feel so bad for folks that miss it, because I remember when I was $800,000 in debt, y'all. I remember that. I remember being so in debt, and if anybody could just throw me a bone, man, I would take it. But the thing is, Most of the time we don't value what we don't invest in, and so I want you to invest in yourself today. Okay, you're gonna I want you to dig all I want you to come with me. We're gonna dig out all the nuggets out of this book, Cybernetics, even if you don't have time to read it. Okay, and so I do believe in giving honor where honor's due. So let me tell you, I wrote this program with the help of several mentors: Paul Martinelli, Roddy Galbraith, as well as the renowned plastic surgeon, Dr. Harold Bafidis. And these three men made the content of Dr. Maltz's book come to life for me when I thought I had hit an all-time low. Oh my goodness. Look, y'all, one of the things that these lessons taught me, and they're a huge part of why I worked with my mentors to bring this content to you, is that it really doesn't matter how much you've accomplished. It doesn't matter how many accolades, degrees, letters follow your name. You can accomplish everything and still hate on yourself. Oh my goodness, y'all. Yo, I was the first African American to hold the position of physicist in the Air Force. I excelled at that job. I either chaired or was the Air Force voting member for some of our nation's highest technical committees after being told as a cadet at the Academy, the Air Force Academy, that they didn't think I could do that because as far as they were concerned, blacks couldn't do physics. And despite all that success, I still felt like a total loser. Like at any moment, someone was going to figure out that I was a fraud, that I had sensory processing issues, and that my mind didn't think properly. Oh, I felt large and in charge when I had my uniform off, but when I took it off and had to face myself in the mirror, I felt worthless. I felt unlovable. I felt useless. I felt like a fraud. All the things you've probably felt at some time too. And this class will help you put those feelings where they belong, in the past. All right? Like many of you, I did a lot of things to help me feel better about myself. I mean, I accomplished a lot trying to fill that empty hole, y'all. I threw myself in ministry because everybody told me that church work would fill my longing for acceptance and belonging, right? Now, one thing that the Lord has shown me, we are never going to find love and acceptance and belonging from others unless we first give it to ourselves. Love thy neighbor as thyself only works if you actually love yourself. One of the many things I tried to do in order to feel better about myself was running races. And an old Air Force chief he said, a big girl like you needs to run races so your peers will respect you. Now, he was right to some extent. And I do believe that I do believe that running those races really helped my military career. Okay. I do. I think he would probably get in trouble now if he said something like that. But I think he was right. If he said something like that today, this was 20 years ago. If he said something like that today, I think he would get in trouble. But he was right. Running those races and coming back with those marathon medals, it did something to help counteract the way people assumed I was when they took a look at me. But it didn't change how I felt inside. And I want to take you on a little quick journey on this because some of you have done this. Some of you have done this, maybe not with racing, but some of you have done this with other accomplishments in your life. And if you have, just write "I have" in the comments. You don't have to tell everybody what your life story or divulge all your secrets or anything like that. But please just walk with me for a second and think about parallels to your life. When I first started running, I was proud of my first 5K for all of about a minute. And then that little voice said, "Well, you're in the military. All of you should be able to run that fast." Then I did a 10K. I was in Korea when I did my first 10K. Ooh, I was satisfied myself again for a hot minute. And then I realized no one around me seemed to care. After all, it wasn't a marathon or anything. Then I did a series of half marathons, and that still didn't stop the voice whispering, "You're not enough." After all, this little voice insisted, a half is just a cop out for people who can't hack a full marathon. Then I finally did it. The Marine Corps Marathon, y'all. 5 hours and 22 minutes. Do you see that clock there on the slide? For those of you who are listening on free conference call, you can't see it, but I got a picture up on the internet, on my Facebook page, and it shows 5:23 because I had to get through the shoot before I could stop and take a picture. There weren't that many people behind me, but there were enough. I had to get out of the way. But 5 hours and 22 minutes, I earned every ounce of that medal, y'all. But I was so slow that I missed out on a lot of the freebies that other finishers got, including the military finisher coin, because by the time I finished, they were gone. And you know what was really so sad for me about that day? I was too large to fit in any of the women's finisher t-shirts. And again, that voice twisted in my heart. You're not good enough. Anyone else been there? Didn't matter how much you accomplished, that little voice says, you're not good enough. Yeah. I'm going to tell you another story of a time in my life where I should have felt like I was good enough. I'm actually not going to down on myself too much about this. I mean, like I said, someone can accomplish all kinds of amazing things and still have a very low self image. This is a picture of me as a finalist for Ms. Veteran America. Now, by the time I took this stage, I really was more at peace with who I was. I had learned to accept myself for the most part, and I was just thrilled to have actually made the cut. Okay. There was a lot of mentoring. It was a new experience for me. And, looking back on it, I'm actually glad now for the experience, because the experience of being part of this competition was very much like the experience that I have backstage and working with hair and makeup artists. And it really has prepared me for my professional speaking career, right? So I really do cherish this time. But one thing that really grieved me about this time, you see me up there on stage. I'm that big blue in the middle. I love that. I love that color, right? One of the things that I was so proud of was I earned the most money out of all the finalists for the Women's Veterans Transitional Home in Alexandria. And it was just fun to do something so different, especially being older than most of the ladies who were in there. But my heart broke, y'all, to discover how many of the younger women truly hated themselves. And so much of their self-worth came from whether or not others valued their looks or their talents. And look, Miss Veteran America isn't exactly a pageant in the traditional sense. Yes, we're on stage. Yes, we have talent. Yes, we wear our ball gowns. But to win this competition is more about advocacy for women veterans. It's not about looking hot in a bikini. All right. These ladies were some of the fiercest warriors in the world. And to hear that even they didn't like themselves deep down inside. Now, not everybody, but several of the most beautiful women that I talked to, they felt like they were too ugly, too fat. Now, look, y'all, I'm the biggest thing on that stage, and I'm not even too fat. Okay, so I think Marissa and I might be tied there, but she's not a contestant, and she don't have legs, so we're gonna give her a pass. All right, she had an IED accident. I'm trying to make a little bit of a joke, but maybe that was not a very well placed joke. But really, it broke my heart. Like, I'm talking with these girls who have they're like 10, 15 years younger than me. They have a whole life ahead of them, and just all of their life was wrapped up in whether or not somebody else approved of them. And you know how that goes. Nobody's ever gonna always approve of you. Even people who love you aren't gonna always approve of you. And while I felt like it might be difficult for me to find someone to love me who for I was, because of my rank, a lot of guys don't want a high ranking woman, or because of my size, or because of the divorce. A lot of Christian men don't want a divorced woman because of my status as a single parent. Like these women were struggling to find someone who could love them for who they are, and they just wanted someone to love them for who they are. And maybe you know somebody else who feels that way. Somebody else who's accomplished amazing things and still has a self-image that's hindering them, that's hindering you from achieving your dreams. Well, you can see a nice picture there that looks like something that would hinder somebody's dreams, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Forgive me while I'm trying to work the controls here. You know, StreamYard has these new features and I'm testing them out, but let me see if this one works. Yeah, that one might work. Okay. uh, as I move forward in my healing, I kind of hesitate to tell the story, but it is the foundation of why this class is so important to me. So let me kind of tell you what happened, okay? When my surprise baby in my 40s cubbies was 6 months old, he and I were rear-ended. I lost use of my left arm for a while, so I praise God for physical therapists because they gave me the use of my arm back, right? Well, 8 months later, I was rear-ended again and diagnosed with some pretty life-altering cognitive injuries. See, I didn't know it at the time, but I was exhibiting the symptoms of a stroke, and no one thought I was going to recover. I was removed from my job as chief of protocol for a 4-star general, and I did not get promoted to the full bird colonel, as so many who didn't know about the car accident had expected. I was moved to this out of the way unit where I had no duties assigned for 4 months. Now, in retrospect, I think I kind of needed that time to heal, but in the moment, oh man, in the moment, it felt like I had been put out to pasture, y'all. Now, I was a member of the John Maxwell team, and I had built a mentoring relationship with Paul and Roddy that I mentioned earlier, right? And I went to them whining about how I wasn't going to be able to achieve my dreams because everything in my life was falling apart and everything that I valued about myself was taken from me. I had written reports for the president. I had been the deputy chief scientist for the major command. I had done these things and they were all very intellectual things. And now they were gone. I couldn't even make Monopoly change for my son. Okay. And it was just such a humbling, difficult experience. And I'm just boo-hooing and feeling sorry for myself. Well, Paul did not let me use that car accident as an excuse. He reminded me that it's impossible for me to outperform my own self-image. And that's something that I want to leave with you today. If you take nothing else from this course, I want you to remember that you can't outperform your self-image. Now, I'm talking about some kid driving too fast in the rain on his cell phone, right? I'm talking about this kid. I'm pouring out my heart to Paul about this kid. And Paul's sitting here talking about the self-image. And I was hot. Y'all, I almost wanted my money back. But he said, if you want to change, then you've got to change. That's what has to change. And no matter who put you in the situation you're in today, whether it's your fault, your spouse's fault, some kid driving too fast on his phone texting in the rain's fault, whatever brought you to where you are, if you want a change in your life, you are the only person you have control over to make a change. That's what you've got to change. You've got to change. You've got to reprogram your self-image. Now, did I agree with him? No, I didn't agree with him because come on, this wasn't my fault, but what choice did I have? So over time, following his advice, my determination combined with the Lord's healing power, I believe, I've healed so much that the last doctor to do a neurological evaluation on me said there is no way I could have healed up the way I have unless I'd been faking all along, trying to get insurance money. And any of you who know me, you knew I wasn't faking all of that because I was trying to get promoted to 06, full bird 06. I was on the track to this promotion and I wanted to get everything I had worked so hard for. So I was trying real hard to prove that I had everything back together. What I discovered through all this, though, for that doctor to have said this, I realized that Paul was right. We can't outperform our own self-image. And he's also right that we can change it. And that's why I worked with him to package these lessons and bring them to you. So I'm going through, I'm looking on the free conference call. I really appreciate those of you who are on the free conference call. Almost everybody, everybody on the free conference call has worked with me in other programs. And some of you are new to this program. I can't see everybody who's on YouTube, and I can't see everybody who's on Facebook, but I do want to let you know that, just like I was saying before, you can follow somebody's work for a number of years and you might know and understand a lot of these concepts already, but now you're operating at a higher level of awareness. And so you're going to get more out of it. Okay. You might be hearing the same lesson, but you're going to find that you dig deeper even hearing the same kind of lessons. All right. So what are we going to learn about? Well, we're going to learn about the self-image. We could just as easily say self-concept, self-belief, right? We're going to learn how these beliefs form. We're going to learn how this image that we hold of ourselves forms. And then we're going to explore the very real power that our environment plays in the formation of that. And you kind of think about it, it's really the personal growth version of which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? In this case, it's like, which came first, the belief or the image? Did the conditions and circumstances come first, or did the results that fed into the beliefs come first, right? So we're going to look at all of that. We're going to look at who we are. We're going to look at how we got to be that way in the first place. We're going to look at understanding how the self-image is formed and how we have the power. We have the power to form a new self-image. All right. So now you're going to, I'm going to talk a little bit about Dr. Bafidis. If you're already, I should be able to pull this up. I think I'm going to just pull up the video. Hang tight with me. He's the one, if you're already in the class or if you have visited the website for the class, you will notice Dr. Bafidis because he is the one introducing me in the video. Okay, so give me a second here to see if I can get this video playing for you and if I can get it to share the screen for you. Okay, so let's share screen. All right. And don't forget, you can put questions and comments in the chat at any time. And when I get up to a break point in my discussion, then I will answer those questions. Okay. So here you go. This is Dr. Harold Bafidis.
Hello, this is Dr. Harold Bafidis. I'm a double board certified plastic surgeon. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, JJ Conway. Now, if you're looking to improve your results in any area of life, then you need to get to the root cause of those results. And to assist you in doing that, I really want to encourage you to join our program, SelfImage Mastery. This powerful program focuses on one thing that needs to change for everything to change for you. That's your self-image. If you don't change your self-image, then nothing will change in your life. But if you do, then everything will change. Now, I've been studying the mind since the 1970s, and in my opinion, this program is so powerful because it's so simple to immediately start using. Everyone can understand the concept of the self-image. And then as soon as you hear it explained, you'll realize its power. But not only is it simple to comprehend, it's simple to implement. Now, self-image psychology is a well-established science. And for example, it's used extensively for high-performance athletes and in all areas of sport. I believe you will love this program. Join us. Don't delay. Sign up today. Thank you.
Now, Dr. Bafidis isn't going to physically talk to us in the class, but one of the reasons I wanted you to get eyes on him is because he's the one that provided me with a lot of the science that went along with what sounded to me at first when I was first introduced to these concepts, and may sound to you like a lot of woo-woo psychobabble, right? So as you heard, he is double board certified, literally tens of thousands of patients, tackling some of the most difficult cases in the world. other plastic surgeons literally travel to sit at his feet, and he's seen firsthand how Maxwell Maltz was correct. Maxwell Maltz was ahead of his time, and we now know so much more about the mind and body than we did 60 years ago when Maxwell Maltz wrote this book. And what he theorized back then is now been borne out in the study of cognitive neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and neurochemistry of the brain. So an explosion in these fields over the last 5 years, okay? And what he hypothesized was that the self-image or the ego mind is changed not by intellect alone, but by literally experiencing life. So what we see is that change is possible. Change is predictable. Change is essential if you want to live a happy, healthy, and wealthy life. And I want you to know something, okay? Because we can't outperform our own self-image. And sometimes how do I want to say this? If it's requiring us to experience life, oops, might help if I do the right thing. That's not the experience I want. Although that's a really good picture of me. Can I just pause for a second and say those are some really good looking video pictures, screenshots right there? That's from my Empower Technical Leader that I did for Women in Cloud. Sorry, y'all. Let me go back. Stop screen. There we go. One of the ways I know my self-image is better today is because back in the day, that would have stopped me in my tracks. I would have just stopped teaching the class and been like, forget it. I've messed up too many times. We are not doing this anymore. I'm clearly not good at this. Forget it. We're just going to end the class here and I'm going to give everybody their money back. Like, that's how low my self-image was. So, okay. So here we are. Let me put the slide back on there. Okay, there we go. It's kind of weird having me and me. Let me do this. Yeah, it's better. All right. So what he's realizing is that you can't outperform your self-image. But here's the thing. In order to change your self-image, you've got to experience something else. And for many of us, it's really hard to get out of the day in and the day out and experience something else. So what he talks about using is a wonderful God-given gift each of us has inside: the imagination. Some of us have more imagination than others. Some of us have to really work hard to control it. Like my 6-year-old boy, he can come up with some stories and he believes they really happened, y'all. Some of us have either outgrown that or we just didn't have that much creativity and imagination to begin with. But the wonderful thing about what Dr. Maltz talks to us about is that when we do these exercises, we begin to harness this power of imagination. And so what I love about this program is that it's so simple to understand. You don't change your self-image through the intellect. This explains why so many of us we've read books and we've taken classes and we've taken notes and we've done the exercises. Wait, I don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't do my exercises. You got to do my exercises. But we've done all the things, and yet still, we are still right back in the same place we've been in all this time. And so what does that tell me? It's not just about intellectual learning. Okay, it's not just about intellectual learning. There's something else that has to go on, and we're going to dig into it over the course of this program. All right. Let me go back to my slide deck here. Let's see. Okay, I think I've got that up. Okay, so where do I want to start? Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about the program and the 7 weeks. So there's an intro plus 7 more lessons. And for many of us, so many of you are in 2 categories today. Some of you are brand new to all of this kind of stuff. And at some point throughout the time, it's going to click and you're going to be like, wow. Some of you are already accustomed to these concepts and you're just here to take things up to the next level, or you're just here to get yourself reblued, like they used to call it in the Air Force, just to get re-immersed and get re-excited and get re-energized and get right back on the track that you were in, okay? Somehow along the way, you're going to get the power of this. And some of you may have already, when you started going through my workbook, and others of it, you're just going to see it At some point, it may be on the call today, it may be at lesson 5, but at some point you're going to really get it. You're going to get what it means. You're going to get what it means for you. And it's going to change everything. Sometimes we don't get what it means, right? Sometimes we don't get what it means. I love the example of Fleming for this. Okay, and for those of you who don't know Fleming, you're gonna realize who he is when I talk to you, tell you what he did. When he came back from his holiday, he had left his petri dishes unwashed up in his laboratory. He come in 2 weeks later, looks at one, and was like, ooh. And he puts it under his microscope. And when he looked through, he saw the mold eating the bacteria, and he got what it meant. He got what it meant. He got what it meant. How many other people could have looked at exactly the same thing and not got the significance of it? How many times have you been going along? You have read the same passage over and over and over again. You've been in the same class. You've listened to the same podcast. The instructor is teaching the same thing they always teach. And then one day it just makes sense. Fleming got the significance of what he saw. He saw the mold eating the bacteria, and thank goodness he did, because what a difference it makes to have penicillin and antibiotics and all those kinds of things. But actually, if you think about it, you're going to get something similar. Now, maybe not on that scale, right? Like maybe you're not going to change the world for 100 years to come, but you might, you might. The breakthrough you're going to have with this program, it might be on the level of the breakthrough of the mold eating the bacteria in the petri dish after he went away for 2 weeks and forgot to wash up his stuff. He didn't just change the world with that insight. Okay. It wasn't just, oh, I've got this great idea. Oh, I've got this great thing. Okay. Now that was an important thing, but it was the implication of it. Okay. And it took him time. It took him years to really kind of turn around, get anyone to listen, to take anyone seriously. And I think, I'm not a historian, but I think it was only when war broke out that people started taking them seriously. Like people were being shot and the bullet didn't kill them, but the bacterial infection that set in afterward did, right? So then people started taking interest and it took off. But if he had never got the meaning of it, and if he had never bought into his dream, and if he had never pursued and had all the insight and did all the work to make sure that he was ready to make use of the insight, then we wouldn't have all those products today. He had to do the work. He had to invest in himself. He had to do the self work. He had to do the clarifying work. He had to learn how to take his idea and put it before people in a way that they understand. He had to do all of that before he could get any real worldwide lasting change. And your dream is going to be the same. It's going to be the same for your insight. You're going to grab onto this self-image psychology. Once you get it, that insight is yours. And now it's time for you to apply it. It'll be like it reorients you, right? Now you're in a different direction, but you still got to take the step to move forward. And so for a lot of us, we might think, okay, well, I've got the intellectual insight, but what we've got to integrate the understanding, the emotional, the psychological understanding in order for it to make a difference in your life, in order for it to change your life. And so I think this is analogous to taking golf lessons, right? Okay, so y'all know I was in the Air Force, and a lot of mentoring gets done on the golf course, right? And you know that you really ought to get some help to get better, because you got to get out there with those generals if you really want to build relationships and get mentored. You need to be out there on that golf course. So you get this golf course. He says, all right, get this golf pro, right? You go down to the clubhouse. You get You get the guy, and he says, all right, show me your swing. And you show the swing, you swing the golf club. He looks at you and he's like, yeah, you're going to need to change the way you're holding that club. Or maybe he says you need to change the way you lead with your shoulder, right? He gives you all this great advice about what you need to change so that you can get out there with the big wigs that already know have been playing for 40 years, right? Do you look at this person and say, but you don't understand. See, this is my golf swing. I don't tinker with those things. That's just how it happens when I swing the club, because that's my swing. Now, it doesn't really make sense when I say it like that, does it? But there's a lot of things in our life. There's a lot of things in our life that we have internalized, and it feels like it's a part of us. And the habits, oh y'all, the habits that are holding us back, oh, they feel like they're a part of us. It's not something we do, it's something that's a part of us. It's something that happens on its own. That's how it feels. Beliefs are the same way. Once they are integrated, now it's like they are a part of us. And if someone challenges what we believe, oh, we feel like they are challenging us, not challenging something we learned. No, they challenging us because it's a part of us now. So we've got to take that intellectual understanding, and we've got to get the emotional integration so that the changes that we want in our self-image can become a part of us. So when the golf pro encourages you to see you weren't born with that golf swing, instead of defending it and saying, well, that's just how I do things, you understand that you learned and you developed, and over time it's become natural to you, but you learned how to do it in the first place. So now you understand, and it makes sense that if you could develop one type of golf shot, well, then surely you can develop another. If you develop one kind of habit, surely you can develop another. Okay? Now, let me ask you something. And those of you who are golfers, you may know this. I was never big on golf. It was just a lot of work for a little reward. Now, had I been a guy, maybe it'd been different, because I'm back when I got in the Air Force, you didn't see a whole lot of women out on the golf course, but now everybody's out there. Maybe I would have changed my mind, but I just never did, and it wasn't really that important to being a physicist. But let's just say the golf pro showed me how to fix my thing, and tells me, okay, here's what you got to do. And let's just say that I have let go of my need to be amazingly right about my rinky-dink golf swing, and you're not going to tell me how to swing my club. Let's just say I have set that all aside, and I am trying to listen to this man or this woman show me how to swing this golf club, right? Now, what happens the next time, the next day, the next week, I go back out to the golf club and I swing at the ball? Exactly the same thing that happened when I swang it before. Is that a word, swang? The thing is, I can understand what I need to change, but until I've walked in it, until I've integrated, until I've practiced it, it's just not yet a part of me. So it's not just intellect alone, it's experiencing. It's not just positive thinking, it's positive doing. And you have to practice the new way, and then eventually becomes a part of how you naturally hit the ball. The habits that we form that form our self-image, we have to experience them. So it's not just positive thinking, it's positive doing. Now, I'm going to give you a lot of information in this program, and we've got the main lessons with the application and the theory, and then we have a couple of bonus deep dives to give you some of the actual science behind why it works. And that's why it was a delight to have Dr. Bafidis introduce me in the intro, and as well as provide the scientific data to the program. Okay, so we're gonna fill you with everything you need. If you're more of an emotional kind of person, you don't really want all that detailed stuff, fine. It's not essential to make the program work, but you don't need to know how the science and the details to make it work. You just need to do the things. And some of us, we need that science and detail to feel comfortable doing the things. But if you feel comfortable doing the things, then you don't really need to understand how they work. You just need to do them and let them work for you. It's like turning on a light. It's like turning on a light. You don't have to have a doctorate in psychology to understand this program, to implement this program and have this program work for you. Just like you don't have to be an electrician to understand that when you flip on the light switch, the lights come on. Okay? You just do. Now, some of us, we want to understand how it works, and there's nothing wrong with that. The world needs all kinds of personalities, all right? Okay. I'm excited for those of you who are jumping in. I'm excited for you who are interested in up-leveling your life. What we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at all of these different habits and beliefs that we have internalized to ourselves to the point that they become a part of us. We're going to look at what made that in the first place. And we're going to realize that a lot of the things that have hindered us in our lives is because of the fact that we can believe a lie. One of the questions that I used to really resist asking myself, but now I ask it very often is, what if I'm wrong? What if this belief about my limitation, what if it's wrong? For so many years, I had the habit of saying I'd never be able to make whatever kind of money it was, whether it was 50,000, 100,000. Oh, I'd never be able to do that. And we just make agreement with it. Like, that's just the way it is. I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to reach that. We just, reasonable. We're just being reasonable. I'm challenging you today to stay in the question of what if I'm wrong about the limitations that you put on yourself. What if the limitations that you put on yourself was a lie? What if the limitations that you put on yourself was based on something that isn't true? Are you going to live that lie? Are you going to live the lie? Or are you going to take charge of your life? Are you going to take charge of the God-given power that you have inside? There's for those of you who don't know me, JJ Conway, my spiritual relationship is very important to me. And there's a lot of the things that people who teach the kind of stuff that Dr. Maxwell Maltz talks about. And I didn't see any of it in this book. There are a lot of people who teach things, teach these kinds of things, that they do or say things that are very contrary to God's word. And it makes a lot of people who believe and share my faith stay away from thinking about incorporating the power of their imagination in their life, and to stay away from things that sound like positive thinking, and to stay away from things that sound like challenging your beliefs, because we've been so programmed that so many things are contrary to our beliefs. And if you're in that boat with me today, I want to encourage you of one fundamental fact. If the Lord did not want you to have an imagination that would allow you to conceive of a life differently than where you're living today, then He wouldn't have built it into your ability. It was the imagination, the ability to create, the ability to think up new things was inbred in humankind before the fall. It was there with Adam when he named all of the animals. If you look in the early scripture, this is not one of those things that came to us from sin. Now, it has been usurped. I believe it. Now, I'm not going to get all preachy on y'all, okay? I'm going to lose half my audience when I start saying this, right? I do believe that a lot of these concepts have been usurped by present day New Age kind of, I'm spiritual but not religious because I don't like limiting intolerant Christians and judgy people who sit at church all day and they go home and drink and carry on and do everything they said on the pulpit they don't do. Like, I don't like those people either. Okay. But we don't want to let our faith be used to keep us from living out all of the abundance that faith has promised. I hope I'm saying that delicately enough. Okay. All right. So the self-image is one of the most powerful discoveries of the 20th century. And I really do feel like it was very, 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 very helpful to me, because here I was after this car accident in this world where I couldn't do what I was used to doing. And what I had to create for myself was a new self-image that still valued me, even with my bodily limitations, that still valued the contribution that I could make, although it may not be as fast as it used to be, and it may not be as thorough as it used to be. Oh, I tell you what, some people, they have these car accidents and they come out and they're all, cursing and mean and cantankerous. And I realized, okay, you know what? Instead of being stressed out that I can't do this or that or anymore, let me just hire someone to do it. And the crazy thing about it is, by accepting my life and creating a new self-image that valued me the way God valued me, even though I was imperfectly made, and even though I was broken and busted up, and even though my heart was broken, to see how people treated me after all this happened, all the people that say they're going to be there for you, and everything fell apart in your life, and everybody that you thought was going to help lift you up, they were like, you too needy, and they turned their back on you, and you don't know how to move forward, and you just took one step after another. But if you just keep taking one step after another, things will begin to change. But while you're in the middle of it and you're looking around at your life, it's so easy to get caught up in what we thought was the proper self-image. And for me to move forward in my life, and that moving forward to bring the level of healing that it has, to the extent that so many people don't even realize I had been involved in such a powerful car accident. That's such a blessing whenever somebody says they would have never known. They hadn't seen me tired or hungry. Because when I'm tired or hungry, it comes out, y'all. But learning how to regulate myself and realizing that those things, the things that I used to do, they don't define me anymore. The uniform that I used to put on didn't define me anymore. The people that I used to try hard probably didn't work. The people that I used to try hard to impress, that's not what defines you. It's not what gives you value. The dollar symbol behind what you earn is not what gives you value. Now, I do believe that as an average, that, just like the market goes up and down and up and down and up and down, but that trends up, I do believe that if you are giving good value to the world, if you are helping people with integrity to the world, if you are honoring yourself. I'm about to say something that some of you who really have a big heart to serve probably aren't expecting. But if you will honor yourself in your desire to help others by charging what you're worth in the world, it may your income may ebb and flow and go up and down, but it overall trends in an upward path. But whether it's trending upward or not, it does not define you. You are what defines you. It's what's in here that defines you. And what's in here doesn't have to change when the money's coming high. What's in here doesn't have to change when the money dries up. What's in here doesn't have to change when your kids are doing everything that makes you look good in the community. What's in here doesn't have to change when your kids are in and out of jail. What's in here doesn't have to change when you're busted up in a car accident. What's in here doesn't have to change when you and your spouse are at odds. Now, if we need to grow, and if we need to get better, and if we need to walk at a higher level of character, yes, those things can change, but those things do not define your value. Do I want to be a better wife? Sure, I want to be a better wife. I'd like to think I've had enough practice now, but I'm still learning. As time goes on, every so often, at least every once a month, there's always something new that I'm like, if I do this, it makes life easier for him and better for everybody else. And if I say it this way, it's more easy to understand. So I'm not saying we don't ever change. But my self-worth is not caught up in whether or not my husband is mad at me. Not unless I did something wrong. And I mean, every once in a while I might have a bad day, but for the most part, I'm going to walk in integrity and do the right thing. And so my self-worth isn't dependent on whether friend so-and-so who used to manipulate me into doing everything for him or her, whether they still like me or not. No, that does not define my worth and my value. So I'm saying these things, but there's one thing that I want to qualify on this. It's a journey to get to this point where when I have money in the bank and when I don't have money in the bank, I still know who I am. When my body works the way I want it to work, and when my body doesn't work the way I want it to work, I still know who I am. And there's something that I had to change to help me let go of all those old beliefs and really focus on who I am and whose I am. And it required me to let go of the need to know how. I had to suspend my attachment of knowing everything about the process, or having to understand everything completely before I begin. We must suspend the need to know how. If you finish the program with me, you will understand how by the time we get to the end. But all the different exercises that I'm going to ask you to do, and sometimes, and if you're taking notes, just pause for a second and listen to me. Sometimes just the doing of the exercise, the act of you doing it, will reveal the lesson inside the exercise. And the exercise itself may not be the breakthrough, but in you doing it, it opens up some other awareness. And that's been the awareness in my life. So you remember, I spent the first half of my life believing that I was stupid, loser brainchild, book smart, but no street smart, useless and naive. That was my self-image. That was my core belief when I first joined the John Maxwell team. And I told you in the beginning of the thing, I had all these accolades, all these accomplishments, but none of them made me feel better about myself because they didn't solve the problem. And that problem was self-image. And that problem was the self-image that was really formed back in the day when the teachers discovered I was slow and people put me in a box and didn't want to let me bloom or blossom. They put me aside and figured I wasn't good enough to know to want to teach. And if it wasn't for my mom insisting on a particular teacher, I wouldn't even be before you today. Now that's one area where the self-image in the past hurts, in the past mistakes, and the past labels, and the past frustrations can come back to haunt us. But sometimes it's just our personality. See, typically, I'm in finance now, but my Air Force career was in science, and I just want to know everything, how something works before I trust it. It's I didn't even trust in anything, right? Like one of the agencies I was in is, "In God we trust, all others we verify," right? And I'm telling you, if I required of myself the knowledge and the understanding of any of the terms before I dug in and did the exercises that are in this book, I would still be a vegetable laying on my couch wishing the day would end because that's almost all I could do 4 years ago. Get my kids to school, almost 5 years ago now, get my kids to school, check in at work, sleep in my car, knocked out by 20 different neuromeds and painkillers, thinking I was done for. My life was over, y'all. I was set out to pasture. I wouldn't be teaching this lesson today. I wouldn't be financially solid enough to be able to retire from the military and not have to go get me another quote unquote good government job, right? We have to suspend the need to know how. And it was that awareness that led me to one of the teaching points that I share in almost every program that I teach. And that is, you have to suspend the requirement of knowing how. You don't have to know how everything works. Okay. You don't have to know how. You just need to do your best at the exercises. And if you can't make the live classes, get the recorded classes, get the dripped classes, apply yourself. And if you do, you will find that you are going to get all the benefits. I promise you that. I'm living proof. All right. You have to suspend the need to know how. Okay. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. All of us are a product of our experiences, and we're also a product of our perceptions of our experiences, whether they're correct or not, okay? So sometimes it's what happened to us. Sometimes it's how we feel about what happened to us. Okay. And we're going to talk a lot about this. We're going to talk about how Freud was wrong on some things. And we're going to talk about all these different things about how to let go of where you've been and move forward to where you're going, to where you want to go. And we're going to apply some really powerful techniques that no one's really talking about. I mean, everybody's talking about think positive and be intentional and believe you can dream it and believe it, you can achieve it. Right. But we don't want to get caught up in things and then feel sad later on because it was just get us hyped up and get our money. These are very real exercises that are going to help us uncover what's going on inside of us and move us forward. So look, I don't pretend to know where all of you are at tonight, okay? I don't know if you're facing a divorce, a medical diagnosis, financial hardship. I don't know any of that. But I do know that you can change your world. You can be causative and you can cultivate so much more of your potential when you apply what we're going to share over the next 7 to 8 weeks, okay? And if you don't use your potential, it'll seem like you didn't have it in the first place, right? Because if you're not using it, it's like not having it at all. If you won't do it, it's the same as if you can't do it. And when I first tried to learn how to speak for profit, Roddy would say, just give it a go. And it was really like the first time I'd ever been given permission to just let go of the story that I'd been telling myself. Not only telling myself, but telling myself about myself. And it always came back to the story that was truly holding me back. Not a lack of resource or skill or talent or ability, but the attachment and agreement that I had made to my limiting story. And most of the time, the conviction that we have to I can't is really an illusion. Most people are so convinced they can't do something, they don't even try. It's an assumption and it never gets tested. And so when we're in this program, I'm going to have you challenge some of those assumptions, all right? We're going to have you challenge some of those assumptions. And that as soon as you are able to change your belief, you are going to realize that you have more power in you than you ever thought. We're spiritual beings. We've been gifted with an intellect and we're experiencing life in this physical body. And our body temple is really the lowest expression of our highest power. Okay? So I'm going to, let me check in the comments and make sure I don't have any comments. I think I'm going to close it out for today. I have so much more that I want to say on this, but I really want to encourage you. If you have not already purchased the class, normally when I do these classes, I do the kickoff, and then once a week we stay on that topic. Okay? We're not doing that in 2022. You are going to get another lesson on self-image rising in March when we have the fourth Thursday, because every fourth Thursday is our empowered entrepreneur classes. These are personal growth classes to help you take your life to the next level as an entrepreneur. But what we're not, but in the other ones, the other days we have the 7-figure business building, we have real estate investing, we have fireside chat. We're not going to loop back to this. So if you've really been resonating with what I'm saying today, I encourage you to go. I encourage you to go out to jjclink.com/SIR for self-image. Let me see if I can post that as a banner. I thought I built it, but if not, I'll build it for you real quick. But this is the time, if you have questions on the content, there we go. This is the time that if you have any questions on the content, or if you have any thoughts that you would like to share about what we've discussed, that this is the time that you would do it. If you are watching us on free conference call, then you can do free you can do *6 and 1 to ask a question. But again, this class is a life changer. So many times we don't understand why we can't move forward, and one of the reasons that we can't move forward is how we feel about ourselves deep down inside. We make these snap judgments and we don't even realize what we're doing. I'll tell you one more story that really resonates with me when it comes to um, the concept of self-image rising. Okay, um, at a conference, John Maxwell conference, I volunteered with somebody who was worth a significant amount of money. We had a great time, had a wonderful time getting to know each other, and just a great guy. Well, I find out how much he's worth, $500 million. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, but he's such a great guy. And as soon as I said that, my spirit quickened and said, oh, if you have this assumption that He can't possibly be worth that much because he's such a great guy. What you're really saying is that people who are great can't be that wealthy. And as long as you believe that people who are awesome, people who are kind-hearted, people who are nice, people who serve, as long as you believe that good people like that can't be that wealthy, you will never be that wealthy. And y'all, I had been teaching this stuff for 2 years already. I had already worked hard. I wasn't out of debt all the way yet, but I had already taken the legacy journey and torn down a lot of the Christian beliefs about money that I have found to be false. And I don't mean to bag on Christianity, because I love the Lord. I love the Lord, and I am saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. But the Christian faith has a lot of beliefs that are contrary to God's word. Christians, it's like we're so quick to criticize the Jewish faith of the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? But Christians are going down the same path, like all these different things that are contrary to what God said. And you're like, how does that happen? Well, people are people. All right. So here I'm challenging you today. If you've ever been the kind of person that you work hard and you get the door open and you're about to walk into the big meeting, and then somehow you sabotage everything, you're late, you spill something on your clothes, you forget what you're going to say, and everything goes wrong and you don't get the deal. Or you get the opportunity to be on TV, but instead of walking into that and just killing it and making the money that you need to make, or getting the awareness for your cause that you need to get, you decide that, this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and oh, I couldn't make it. If your life seems to be a series of almost made it happenings and just barely missed it, then this is the class for you. This is the class for you, because these things aren't circumstantial. They appear to be circumstantial, but what they really are is an expression of how you are feeling deep down inside. And Maxwell Maltz says that low self-esteem is like driving through life with your handbrake on. And I would add that you don't even realize it. He also says that the very first thing we got to do is we've got to accept ourselves as we are. And this course will help you to accept yourself as you are, and then you will see the opportunities open up so that you are ready to move forward. There's a great example that somebody gave me back in the day, which is, if you keep pretending, if you're here, if you're down here, but you keep pretending that you're here and you want to get here, and you keep pretending you're up here, but you're really down here, you're never going to be able to get here because you're really here, but you're pretending to be up here. So everywhere you're going is going to miss the mark, because really you're down here and you need this journey. Okay? But you're not taking this journey because you're so busy pretending to everybody, including yourself, that you're up here. So I want to help you today. I want to help you to walk in everything that you have been called to walk to. I want to help be that third set of eyes to help see the things in your life that are hindering your self-image, so that you can make the changes you need to make, so that you can have the life that you want to have. I want to help you develop the habits of happiness that Maxwell Maltz talked about. And most importantly, y'all, I want to help you be able to put the past in the past where it belongs, so that you can move forward with your life. And if these things that I'm talking about today are resonating with you, then I encourage you to go right now and join me in the class, which you can find at the link on your screen, jjclink.com/SIR. If you aren't able to get on a computer right now, or aren't able to pull it up on your phone right now, you can go to buildingwealthtogether.com, and it should be right there in the middle of the featured courses in the bottom, or you can search for self-image. But don't let this moment pass you by. Do something today that your future self will thank you for, and that is to take this course. All right, y'all. I'm JJ Conway. I want to thank you all for being with me today. For those of you who are in the course, you can expect to get another video throughout the week. We'll have a couple of deep dives. Early on, we'll get more of the deep dives, and as the class progresses, we won't have as many. But you can expect to see some deep dives, and then you can expect to see the drip videos, okay? And then we'll do a we'll do a touch base call. That'll be scheduled as soon as I know what my Maxwell International schedule is going to be. Okay. Again, if I don't see any questions, so that's going to conclude our class today. I'm JJ Conway. Thanks for being on, y'all. You take care and be blessed.